The title that we were going to be visiting today really kind of sat around and wanted to talk just a little bit about what the storage launch really was all about for Lenovo, and how this might go back and empower you just for a little bit. As I said, my name is Earl Greer, and I am responsible for the data storage place. Oh, we're having all kinds of opportunities. I'm responsible for data storage sales in North America. And so, from a resource perspective, I'll be one of the many folks that can be used and can be pulled on to help answer the questions, along with folks that will be working on with the D&H team. Lenovo made a big splash this last April, and we came out with this storage launch. And the storage launch was really built to make sure that our partners, like y'all, have the ability to go to market with some new, unique, and some contemporary offerings, give everybody sort of the option to really win in this space. But I think the first question that I might have, if I thought through that, if I was in your place, might be something along the lines of, why is this important? What does this mean for me? Okay, and I think if you're in a position like you as a reseller, as a VAR, as a value-added partner, you might have launches, product announcements, and whatnot from all of your partners throughout the day. You might have 20, 30, 50, 100 a year. And so what I want to kind of pull on a little bit here is, why might this particular announcement be important for you? And what I'd say on here from a high level, if you think about what we did at Lenovo, was we came out with some product sets and added some technology to the products that make them bigger, wider, deeper, and faster. And the biggest thing on here again is it's going to be available for you, and do some options on here again for broader sets of solutions. Some of these options on here are a little bit differentiated, and I want to talk a little bit about how you might be able to position them as you go to market and win some solution sets that are out there again. This fourth bullet down is as important as anything. And I think if you're in the channel, if you're selling products and partner sets out there again, sometimes we'll walk into opportunities and the deck will be stacked, maybe stacked against us. Sometimes there's 3, 4, and 5 partners all bidding to an end user, all maybe with the same solutions. And that creates all kinds of challenges. It creates friction, conflict, deal registration, lockout, all that kind of a thing. And my suggestion, in that space might be, instead of sitting there complaining about maybe channel conflict and not being able to get the deal reg, reach back out to D&H and say, I was looking at a solution that looked like this. What can I do in Lenovo to solve this problem again? It gives you as a partner more options, gives you room to pivot and maneuver. And I think as a solution provider, it's one of the best things that Lenovo and D&H can do for you. Our new product set was built to be faster and denser. That means it's there to address our customers' needs that say, I'm running out of space, I'm running out of capacity, I'm running out of time to manage it. All those are addressed. Our products have been put together in some bundles that make it really fast for you to be able to quote quickly. A product launch is always a great reason to reach out and call a customer. Hey, Mr. Customer, hey, Mrs. Customer, have you heard about this thing? It's new and exciting. Let me call you. And the last thing I'll kind of focus on is that if you're selling into a partner, if the data center is new for you, okay, one of the things that a partner can do to make sure they're sticky as possible is to have a piece of that data center that's really valuable, that's really at the core. And we used to kind of say back in the day when I was working at a VAR, if you want to own the data center, you've got to own the network, or you got to own the storage. And in this particular case, what I'm going to talk about today is owning the storage, and we can help that again so that you can own your customer's data center. One of the themes of our launch has to do with cost reductions. It has to do with consolidation. It has to do with performance enhancement. And then when you put all those things together, sometimes there's so much extra capacity in these storage units and whatnot that we can do new cool feature sets with them. We can add data services, and we can add things like ransomware protection, and we can do that all in box without impacting any of the performance. The technology today is being put to great use as you stop and you look at these new Lenovo solutions. One of the questions I get all the time is, "Hey, so tell me about data storage. What is data storage, and what's it going to mean to me?" And there's all kinds of different ways, that we can frame this up. What I would probably do for this particular case, one of the ways I like to talk about it is, if we consider a server, this little white box over here on the left is a server. Inside the server, there's some memory, there's a CPU, there's some connectivity through a network card or fabric, and there's some storage. Okay, and hey, a server has got the storage. It's able to be, run some tasks on it. But as a customer's needs goes ahead and as it begins to build, as a customer's needs requires more than one or more than two servers, okay, what you're going to run into is a situation where this isn't optimal for scaling up, scaling out, and scaling a little bit larger. And if you think for just a second of a way to address that, one way to go back and do this to solve problems where somebody says, well, I've got 3 servers, but I actually want to access that same data storage. I want to add more data storage that I can fit inside this box, is to come up with a solution where you can take the servers, build them lightly, and then attach them with some kind of a connectivity, and then put an external storage unit out there again. The advantage of this means you can scale up, scale wide, they run well. There's abilities for each of the different servers that are out there to access bits and pieces of that same data, that same storage. It allows this to kind of pick up and grow. And back to that point I talked about with owning the data center, once the data sits here and sits in this storage, it's typical for customers to have it, stay there for like a really long time. Nobody really is good about going back in and getting rid of data they have. Again, it's typically keep everything forever is the way they play. You as a solution provider offering storage solutions that can optimize this, it's going to put you at the heart of the data center. Okay, so a quick polling question, if I could, throw one out there again for the audience to participate in. And really what we're trying to gauge is that at what level of the conversation do we want to have with you today? So if you could take just a minute and click on in here again, as far as data storage sales and what you're involved with, do you feel like you're very strong? Are you the ninja of storage sales? You know a little bit about it. C would be, hey, I know how to spell storage, and that's about the end of it. D means I don't know much about it. And then, of course, E would be something along the lines of, gosh, you know what? I'd like a little bit more depth on this again. I could attend the Storage 101 session, maybe, powered by D&H. It could answer some more of these questions. And really, you can pick a couple on here again, and we'll give just a couple minutes for folks to chime in. All right. I hope everybody had a chance to lean in on this again. And okay, so looks like we're kind of landing right down in the middle. There's some storage expertise on here again. Good. Okay, that'll help us a little bit as we go forward. I can make sure I target this just in that right area again. Thanks for taking time for that. Okay, so I talked a little bit about what is data storage, and now I want to talk about why data storage. And again, if we use this kind of pictorial that says, hey, this is going to be important for my customers. This is going to be where they live. Think of it, the storage as being the heart of this data center. Okay. Then I think the next piece on here again says all the pieces that are relevant, all the pieces that are attached to data storage are all opportunities for you to jump into, dive into, and close on again. And again, just always remember that phrase. If you really want to be sticky in some customer's data center, own the storage. This will get you there. Data is important to everything that we do. Gosh, everybody has probably heard 1,000 things along these lines. I have a couple of quotes on here again to kind of maybe just double click and emphasize on this again about the value of data. If the data is so valuable, what the data sits on again is going to be just as valuable. And I'd kind of say something along the lines of is that if your customers you're working with are looking for IT initiatives, if by chance they're doing anything at all in the words AI or artificial intelligence comes up again, that all is made possible by acting on data. Data imperatives can't be missed and can't be, kind of pushed back again. This is going to be an important piece for you all to jump in on. And I think the timing of our storage launch lines up perfectly with this. And so the storage launch was based upon some data that we pulled. Okay, there was a Lenovo global CIO study, and the CIO study basically came back in and said, AI budgets are tripling. They're being driven up again. They also kind of came back and said that productivity and sustainability, so ease of management, ability to consolidate things, and be able to do it in a cost-effective, power-efficient, kind of format are going to be important. And the last thing that folks came and said was, as well as all the stuff that's important to me, making sure the data is secure, making sure that it's solid, making sure that there's ways that I can be preserving of the data integrity, and that I can make sure that I can get the data back at any time again, are going to be one of my top 3 initiatives. So we built the storage launch based upon that. This is what the portfolio looks like. And I want to spend just a minute and talk about the data storage side of it itself again. These 3 kind of groupings or boxes of data storage solutions right up front. And what I would say about these data storage solutions is that Lenovo's stance, the position that we took to fill these out, was based upon leveraging Lenovo's pretty solid support capabilities, our rockin' hardware, manufacturing, the intellectual property and development processes we did. And then we took some best of breed software to run inside of these storage boxes again. And in our case, we partnered up again with another storage leader in the space, NetApp, and we run flavors of ONTAP and SanOS or Centricity on these boxes themselves to get done the storage needs in place. So think about a really contemporary operating system running on rock solid hardware, and that's really what the Lenovo Data Storage Solutions portfolio like this looks like. If I was to take just a minute and think about the boxes on the left, the DM and DG boxes, okay, the theme of our storage launch is kind of mentioned here again too. Lots and lots and lots of performance. Just over the last generation, again, we're seeing these boxes have 2.5 more times performance capabilities. And in that, ability to do things with all this extra capacity allows us to run faster. It allows us to do way better job of things like compression and dedupe. And it also allows us to do one other thing on here again, and that is to sit down and drive a consolidation effort of these that's just really hard to imagine. And here's, if we did the Wayback Machine 5 years ago, here's kind of what a legacy solution would look like again, that kind of sat down on here and had a certain amount of capacity. And in this particular case, we built this solution up again, built it out of, 1.8 terabyte drives. And there was a boatload of power that was used. There was a boatload of carbon that was being spit. It took a lot of space on here. Fast forward 5 years, and here's one of our new arrays. Same kind of capacity, nearly 5 petabytes. Okay, it's a 2U support case on here again. And along with that smaller footprint, you get all kinds of things of improved energy usage, cooling capacity goes down low again, and way easier to sit and manage. There's a box here instead of a bunch of boxes.
Hey Earl, just
Adrian.
Question from the Q&A. Hey, sorry, I'm back. Thanks for jumping in while my connection had to reset itself. We had a question in the Q&A about immutable worm snapshots. Question is, immutable worm primary data and tamper-proof snapshots. Is that like worm tapes but drives, or is it like software?
Yeah, so it would be software driven, and it's immutable based upon the rights and the permissions that are applied to the array itself. But the drive is actually not a removable kind of a format on here. It's done all through the technology, actually through all this extra horsepower that this drive array has and whatnot. And then we go ahead and apply those pieces to it. I think it's pretty typical in the space that we have on here. Back in it wasn't that many years ago that that some of our competition had what they call immutable storage as well and whatnot. And yet on the back end, the actual spinning disk was set in a certain place with a set of technology and rules that put in place for it. Really, we see this as well in some of the cloud vendors and whatnot as well too. The nice part about the new storage arrays that we have on here is the extra horsepower, the extra capacity in the controller allows us to do this without impacting any of the read and writes in the array. Does that help, Adrian?
So it's basically a snapshot that is write once, read many, right? You lock it down.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. With some watermarking on it, so we can go back in and validate that it hasn't been tampered. Yes.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And then along those same lines, that extra capacity inside the array itself you can set up one of our DM or DG arrays to stop and look at, anomalous sort of activity on the array. And in this particular case, the screen I'm showing you right here talks about the ransomware protection. And basically, with this extra capacity, extra set of eyes, AI powered eyes, is looking at the array itself, looking at the write and read patterns on here again, and looks for things that are out of the ordinary, things like mass encryption as an example again. And with very high rates and very high success rates of recall again, the concept of mass ransomware, mass encryption and whatnot, is taken off the table again. It's just another tier in a data protection strategy, all powered with extra capacity and leading edge technology. In addition to those DM and DG boxes, we also have another line in here called DE. And a DE storage, think about it as really flexible block storage. So this would be like your classic storage array. Think about it competing, say, in the large side, that we have on here with maybe like a medium-sized MSA or something along those lines if you were an HPE shop. And same thing again, you're going to see with this block storage on here again is the new builds, the new technology that's involved in this again is going to have 3 times the kind of performance that we had. And what we're able to do with that is do all kinds of high-end connectivity things, all kinds of high-speed sort of plays. Call outs on this, why the DE is so good. Scales up and down, it's channel friendly. You can just order a single SKU on here again. Because of this extra capacity, we did things like put a lot more I/O ports on the front end, high-speed ports, 32 gig fiber as an example. Lots and lots of capacity in there again, end-to-end NVMe. Okay, and allow it to be able to be plugged in and managed through maybe a vCenter plugin as well to ease management. Okay, a DE is a state-of-the-art block storage array, and it's actually very good for us to have in our channel segment as we stop and think about where we may want to go in the space that you have out there. If you're thinking about competition, here's just a couple things that I might put together for you. We have lots of competitive slides. If competitive slides are important for you, if you're looking for head-to-head competition and battles on here, reach out to Adrian and DNH, reach out to me over here at Lenovo. We can walk you through specific use cases and make sure that we're really positioning the best stuff for you to win. In the case of a DE, going back and looking specifically maybe at the MSA line, what's different about the DE is it's new. It's end-to-end, been rebuilt with all new silicon, new technology. It's running, again, Centricity or SanOS on here. We have full NVMe end-to-end on here, all the high-end approaches. We've got small entry levels all the way up to really, really large block storage devices that big GIS companies and whatnot might be interested in. And where this differentiates us, again, from an MSA is there really is no small entry-level MSA. The MSA 1000, kind of series, they did not refresh those at the time. And we have small entry-level arrays. In our big arrays, our full NVMe support again, outpaces the competition by multitudes. 1.5 times more I/O, lots of throughput on here again, 7-year warranties. Okay, it's just new technology in here again in block storage. Okay, if you're thinking about block storage, and a quick polling question again, and we're thinking about things that we could do, DNH and Lenovo together, that could help you become maybe just a little bit more comfortable with, or give you a leading edge on here again, as you position these data storage solutions to your customers, what's 1 or 2 things that we could do for you? What's 1 or 2 bits of information, details, trainings, webinars? I'd like to know just a little bit on here again about what we could do for you as we go forward to make sure you've got the data, the details you need to be as effective as possible. While we're waiting for the polling questions, Adrian, anything else in the chat?
Nope, doesn't look like it at the moment. If anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to post up. Somebody just posted something. Let's take a look. Are we able to get some ballpark pricing on these models? Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Adrian, if maybe you get a chance to get a name and an address, or name and email or whatever, and maybe you can get a dialogue going right back with them again. I think you'll find the pricing is going to be pretty amazing for where you need to be at.
Yeah, some of these start quite a lot lower than you would think. The list prices are quite high, but after your discounts and bid pricing and deal registration, all that good stuff that I was talking about at the top of the call that I could do for you, you'll find that your pricing is much more favorable. Second question came in, Earl. This is a good one. Any abbreviation explanations on like DE, DG, DM? Like, why is it a DE? Why is it a DG? Why is it a DM?
Yeah, it's funny. So, yeah, it's actually a good question on there again. And so, the kind of nomenclature from back in the day was DE was data, and then E was for entry. Okay, so DEs were considered to be the entry level of the block. Okay, DM was data, and then the M was multi-protocol because of all of the storage services it has. Not only is a DM able to do block, but it's able to do file services and whatnot as well. And then the DG came much later on there again, and we kind of considered that to be more like a general purpose kind of storage array. It fits in the middle between the DM and the DEs, and so DGs fit in that. And outside of it, I can't come up with a better story, okay?
That's pretty good. I didn't know that, so that was good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Let's move past and go for a polling question here. It looks to me like, yeah, so competitive differentiators look like it's a big piece on here as well. I'll talk a little bit more about the storage play, the solution play itself, in a couple of these slides about maybe places that we can go. And now this is really good. This is helpful information. So maybe, Adrian, maybe there's an opportunity for us to do just maybe a competitive differentiator, kind of a session down the road here and tie this back in.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I look at the portfolio again one more time, let me pivot over to something else that's top of mind for us, and want to talk about what we did in our co-engineered kind of software-defined, or SDI, or our hyper-converged infrastructure space. I want to talk about ThinkAgile, and specifically, I want to talk about these boxes. But let me start with a little bit of a storyline on here again. And if I was to go back and kind of say, hey, here's the story about what SDI is. I'll use my little drawing of a server one more time to start with. Again, a server, it's got some memory, it's got some RAM, it's got some CPUs, it's got some fabric or connectivity out, and it's got some storage. Okay, if we were to take these items on here and lay them inside of a box and then start putting these boxes all along, you'd have a server farm. And one of the challenges that data centers run into is that when you size these, you size them for some anticipated kind of workload. You size them for, oh gosh, I think there's going to be 50 users on, I'll size it this way. But what happens if we have only 30 users logged in? Or what happens if we have 100 and you only sized it for 50? Then you might have to come back in there and buy a server that's twice as big. Or you might end up with having a server that's sitting there idling, barely doing any work. And so a while back, and the leader that really kind of took the charge of this again was VMware. They got this concept that said, what if I took these entities, what if I took all these little bits on here again, and I represented them as software? What if I built the functions that these could do in software, and then I could smash these into something else that maybe was a little bit bigger? I could take all these representations of this physical gear, and I could define them via software kind of virtually into a box, okay? And that would be virtualizing these pieces, representing them in software, allows us to begin the building blocks for software-defined infrastructure. And then what if I took that and repeated it over and over again, and took a whole bunch of these little individual boxes that may be running at 10, 15% capacity, or boxes that may be running over capacity. And what if I took all these little emulations of them and ran them into maybe larger boxes, larger infrastructure that had all these pieces on here again? You could do really cool things like, have some servers that run at night, backup servers, maybe use a little bit more of the capacity, and maybe daytime servers that were running like an online database that's used for web lookups during the day. And you could take and virtualize all of this usage up in such a way that you could load balance the work. And software-defined infrastructure, among many other things, powers this kind of usage. Software-defined infrastructure is pretty popular, okay? Comes out with brand names of things. VMware was sort of the leader that really, really stepped in and drove this. Nutanix is another one you might hear. And then another solution in this space might be, might be Azure, or these days known as Azure Local. And all of these software solutions have the ability to go ahead and perform this sort of virtualization magic. Okay, in the space that we sit in, there's a lot of activity in this right now. Again, VMware again being the leader on here, but there's a lot of conversations that go on, and I'd sure like to have a couple of minutes to talk to you about that. But before I jump in, I kind of like to know where I'm talking to, what point on here again. So if you could help me out with a quick polling question and tell me a little bit about this software-defined or hyper-converged infrastructure. How much about virtualization do you know, and where do you find your sweet spot on here again right now? Take a few minutes and answer the polling question for us. And you can actually pick more than one, of course.
Earl, while we wait, we have another question. Are you seeing customers trending towards Nutanix over VMware lately? Perhaps in your ThinkAgile, Nutanix versus Microsoft Hyper-V versus VMware sales, how much percentage market share or sales of each currently?
Yeah, let me.
That we've seen a lot of movement. Like I've personally worked on a couple of deals that are actively migrating off of VMware onto both Nutanix and MX for Hyper-V and Azure Local. But Earl, what about you?
Yeah, I think the same thing. Lots and lots of activity on it. If I could just table that for just a second, in the next two slides, I'm going to cover some of that content, and then I'll circle back over again and kind of let you know what I'm seeing today on here. But I want to make sure I get a chance to cover that in all bits. This is a great question and very relevant right now. Okay, so quick polling answer again. It sounds like folks have a little bit of knowledge on here again. And Adrian, here's an opportunity as well I see down here to run another session on this here. And I'll tie in sort of the Lenovo kind of take on this, and then I'll go ahead and ask you for a little bit of input on here. But it looks like we got a pretty good match. There's some folks that know a lot about it, and there's some folks that maybe that might be able to use a little bit more content here. And so first of all, let's talk about SDI and why it's important. And when I talk SDI, I'm going to use a real Lenovo-centric kind of a verb in here. I'm going to talk ThinkAgile. And our approach to SDI is basically, SDI is, if we think about SDI and the software that it runs on, it needs to be closely coupled to the hardware it sits on to have the best experience, have the best outcome and results. And so Lenovo, what we did was we took an opportunity to reach back out to some of the largest vendors. We partnered up with 3 of them, and we do this co-engineered kind of solution. And the co-engineered solution basically says, I'll take a piece of hardware and I will tune it and build it and load it with components that are 100% going to be compatible with that particular flavor of virtualization, VMware or Nutanix or Azure Local, Hyper-V. And we're going to build it in such a way that not only is it going to run great and work out of the box, but down the road, we're going to build a support tree for it. So as firmware comes out, updates and patches, that everything's going to be in line and in sync for it again. Co-engineered solution is designed to make sure that you as a partner have got the easiest job of maintaining your customer long term. The reason it's important, okay, it is basically oftentimes used as storage, okay? A lot of folks will go ahead and take advantage of all of this virtualized space they have and go out and deploy it as like a storage play. And obviously, if it is being used as storage, we know that if you own the storage, you own the data center. Okay. Another reason I think that is so important, especially with the changes with that happened with Broadcom and Broadcom's acquisition of VMware, introduced all kinds of changes I'll talk about in just a moment. But it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic for every partner, every customer that's out there again. And I think it's pretty relevant right now. It's a good time to get on the bandwagon and provide some options. Okay, so let's just talk about this just for a second. One of the big changes that happened when Broadcom bought VMware is they implemented a pretty dramatic shift in licensing models from something known as perpetual licensing, where you owned a piece of software and then you bought some maintenance against it for support and patches, and they've changed it to a full subscription model. And the subscription model changes all kinds of things for how folks look at, capitalize, and kind of estimate spends on software. Okay, this change was dramatic. This change was big. In fairness to VMware, it wasn't driven. The first subscription model out there didn't come from Broadcom, but they sure have gotten the ire of the community out there for lots and lots of reasons. And in the process of doing this, a lot of value has been inserted into the product, and a lot of cost has also been added to it as well. And I've heard some of the cost out there has been in the range of thinking about like a gallon of milk at the grocery store in the $60 range at times. It's gotten very expensive. Okay, so right up front again, there's a perception that it's a bad thing. I will tell you it causes a lot of financial guessing, and I think maybe the way that it was rolled out was very accelerated, and it caught a lot of folks flat-footed. The last piece I'll say is by Broadcom doing this with VMware, in the process of doing this in the channel, they chopped out a whole bunch of partners out there. A whole bunch of ours that used to be VMware partners were no longer invited to be part of the program and sort of left flat-footed. You had customers that you put on VMware and you could no longer service them any longer. So there's a lot of opportunities there to think about, and this is sort of that disruption. It's probably one of the hottest topics that we get to and that we see. Okay. One of the things that I want you to know, though, about this is that we approach this at Lenovo in sort of a unique way. And that way that we try to look at it is with our customers, with our partners, with our distribution partners, is we try to power them, again, with the ability to pivot and migrate and move to make sure they can, basically address this dilemma, this sort of crossroads of strategy that our customers up against. And we look at it a couple of different ways. And the solutions that we have out there, again, can kind of be divided into three big kind of motions. And the first one over here, again, is invest. And basically it says is that if you're with a partner and you've been working with this customer for a long time and you've got a big investment in VMware and experience and expertise and infrastructure and whatnot, sometimes it's just too painful to move them off. And one of the strategies that we can have on that, again, is perhaps maybe refreshing, investing, using some of these new higher end products to figure out ways to drive core counts, storage space down and whatnot, and really kind of buy our way out or maximize value of the install base. Another solution that we see sometimes is that we work with our partners out there to consider diversifying. Maybe instead of having just one virtualization strategy, instead of having it all on VMware, maybe there's an opportunity to have a couple. Maybe have some of the products in a cluster of VMware and have the applications that live there require all of the high-end products, unified storage or vSAN, maybe DRS and load balancing. Maybe that sort of availability need of those applications needs to live there, but maybe there's an opportunity to put in another virtualization unit or infrastructure on a customer's location, maybe to drive that cost down. Perhaps maybe they got some Azure use credits and they could do something in Azure Local for a lot less money. They might lose some functionality, but maybe it's okay to have, maybe sort of both. And the last thing on here again is back to what Adrian was mentioning. Some folks just say, I don't like the way I was dealt with Broadcom. I'm ready to divest and get out again. Okay, so coming up with strategies to help you as a partner gauge cost based upon core and capacity and all that, so you can look at where you can maybe tweak a proposal to a customer and come up with some of the best value points to help a customer migrate and exit and get off of the technology. Okay, all three different ways are unique ways to approach this, and we want to make sure that at Lenovo we give you enough horsepower that you can pivot and apply any of these at any given time to your customer segment. Okay, so to do this, our ThinkAgiles came out with a new V4 product set, and just like you've seen in the rest of our storage launches, we put a ton of horsepower, a ton of new silicon, and a ton of innovation inside of our ThinkAgile boxes. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to do all kinds of consolidation plays. And with that consolidation, with that new horsepower and space, with those new performance curves on there again, our partners can take and craft solutions on there again to drive TCO down, to maximize core counts, to leverage core counts and capacity, and allow a lot more things to happen in the individual box. From our V1 to our V4 box on here again, we're seeing on here a 40% possibility of software cost savings just by looking aggressively at core cost savings. This is the kind of play that you'll see with us if somebody was to sit down and say, hey, I'm interested in seeing what a consolidation play would be. Okay, and if we go back in there and think about, maybe a version one of a VX rail where you've got 5 full racks on there again, we've got the ability to go back in and provide a solution that can be a single rack of a V4 ThinkAgile box. If there's a need on here to stop looking at maybe having all the storage intermixed in here, maybe through vSAN or unified storage, and instead looking at a way of maybe leveraging our converged play. Our converged play basically says, I'll put a ThinkAgile box with one of my DG storage arrays on the back side of it again. That allows us to do things like minimize vSAN costs, as an example. We can see a 2.5 times, kind of optimization play. And if we've got somebody that's got 3-tier out there, again, we'll pick on Dell right now again, because they're easy to pick on. Okay, we can come up with like a 10-to-1 kind of consolidation ratio on here. Again, our new ThinkAgile V4 boxes are built with latest state-of-the-art technology, all kinds of performance built into them again, all kinds of density and core counts, and allows us to drive these kind of consolidation ratios. Lastly, as far as consolidation, we're the leader in liquid cool appliances. Our Neptune technology in our HCI, kind of offerings is one of the industry leaders. And what this allows somebody to do is it allows them to look at their data center footprint and say, man, oh man, I'm not only out of space, I'm out of air conditioning capacity, I'm out of cooling. And by direct liquid cooling of these ThinkAgile appliances, we can continue to drive that consolidation ratio down more and more and more. Okay, interesting conversation. It won't be a fit for every single one of your customers, but know in the back pocket again that you can come to bat on this again. And we're seeing a fair amount of data centers be built out for this. Okay, so I mentioned on here again a couple of plays, and back to the original question on here. The Nutanix box is called HX. Okay, let's see. Back to the earlier conversation we had about the decoder ring for DE, DM, and DG. Think about our ThinkAgile HX box as the H could line up with AHV, which was the Acropolis hypervisor. That's the hypervisor that Nutanix uses. So H is for the H and AHV. Okay, our ThinkAgile HX boxes, again, have all kinds of capacity in them, allowing us to drive a ton of consolidation plays, a ton of licensing optimizations. Remember, again, it's liquid cooled. Think about this box as being one of the go-tos for the alternatives to VMware. We see a lot of customers right up front again that say, I'm not going to renew with VMware. Can you show me Nutanix? Can you show me a Nutanix solution? And for a lot of our partners out there that don't have native Nutanix authorizations, here's a great way for you to get access to that technology through D&H from Lenovo, get access to reselling Nutanix in these same customers. Okay, I would say that right now, again, a good 50% of the opportunities that we get are customers that are running VMware that say, I want to dip my toes in the sand with ThinkAgile. I want to talk about the HX. Can you show me what Nutanix can do in a migration scenario? Okay, the VMware piece. Okay, this is actually a play maybe for a customer that's running VMware already. Again, a consolidation play. The new ThinkAgile V4 appliances have so much more capacity in them again that we can actually stop and just look at a customer's environment strictly by core count and capacity and come up with consolidation plays for that and stay on VMware. It may be the easiest motion for some of our partners. By the way, if you're a partner that got taken out of the Broadcom partner program again, here's a great way for you to keep access to VMware solutions still through D&H, back again through a Lenovo. We can get this on the ground for you right away. It's a good way for you to take your existing customers that you have and provide investment protection for them, again, for all the technology you put in place. One of the things that we've done here, though, that I think is important about a way to address one of the situations in VMware has to do with our converged solution play. Okay, at a high level, it's a ThinkAgile box with a ThinkSystem DG appliance, storage appliance below it again. And you may be saying, why is this important to me? And what this does is allows us to take our customers that are experiencing really, really high VMware costs based upon their vSAN capacity licenses they have, allows us to take that and move a lot of that vSAN data out here to a storage array at the bottom, one of our DG boxes, and then allows the customer to go back in and relicense their VMware clusters just based upon VVF with the free vSAN tier. Kind of the best of both worlds. It allows some of that data to be local for like boot ups in a VDI environment, a little bit of vSAN, and a whole bunch of DG storage arrays on the backside. And last thing is, if you are considering maybe moving your partner to another technology down the road, this is a great solution for you to keep VMware in place right now. Again, move a bunch of the data to a data array, and that data array can be available with any other server in the data center down the road. If that's a play, there's all kinds of cost savings that can happen in certain scenarios. This is scenarios where there's a lot of vSAN already out there again, and the customer doesn't want to stay on it again. Okay, D&H and Lenovo can come up with some really cool pricing models for you. And then the last thing I'd say on here again has to do with Microsoft, and Microsoft is sort of the dark horse on here. Microsoft appliance for us is called MX, M for Microsoft. Think about this V4 appliance as being a way to implement and leverage Azure Local for your customers. The things about Azure Local that I'm seeing with our customers that we talk to is great for customers that have already got a big investment in Microsoft, that have Azure use credits they haven't leveraged and whatnot. Customers that don't need to use vSAN, maybe they're not leveraging unified storage, maybe intercluster rapid load balancing and failover is not quite as critical for them. These customers are maybe perhaps great candidates for looking at an Azure Local solution as they come back in and get to the space. Okay, we see about 25% of the customers want to talk about what Azure Local will look like in their environments when they're thinking about VMware alternatives. Okay, so back to the numbers we talked about. There's 100% of the opportunities come to us for VMware migrations. We get about 50% of them want to talk to us about moving to Nutanix. About 25% want to talk to us about moving to MX, and 25% of them are undecided. And for those, oftentimes we find it's really the best solution possible for us to sit down and drive a conversation about reinvesting. Oh goodness, this was supposed to be a polling question, but it looks like it did not get turned into a polling question. And so maybe what I would just ask, if you could take a moment and throw into the chat, is we'd like to provide some extra information for you all as you look at your solutions out there. If there's anything on this list right now, again, that you say, oh my gosh, I would be really ahead of the game if I had more detail on one of these individual technical details or sales details, one of these options, maybe you could just put a chat in there again. Adrian and I will go through and see if we can't maybe build something out to go back and address this. What I'm talking about, this extra information we have, is why is co-engineered important? How can you maybe lead an SDI optimization conversation with your customer? If you want to go down the path of de-risking their VMware investments, look at alternatives. We've got some really good technical and competitive differentiators. And then if an extra deep dive is important, well, how do we use vSAN and how do I leverage that with Converge? That's the kind of thing that would fall into that. Adrian, how are we doing on questions? Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
It did make it.
It did make it. Oh, well, hey, if you didn't type in something, if you can just maybe take a second to pick on this, I won't take much more time on here. But I'd really like to know if there's something else again that myself, Adrian, and the rest of the team can provide back to you again to help you get ahead of this curve. It is big, it's hot, and we think overall again there's an opportunity for us here to really provide something special in the marketplace on this. I'm going to go ahead and go through again. Go ahead, Adrian.
We had a bunch of questions and comments. So I'm just going to quickly run through them here. One person asked, so who is actually using VMware anymore with its cost? That's a very good question. One of the slides, I believe, showed that 16% of our surveyed customers thought that they would still be very unlikely to move off of VMware for now. Everybody else is very much on the train to move off of it. Earl, any other comments on that?
I will tell you, I just worked with a Fortune 50 customer this week on an opportunity, and 3 different solution providers provided quotes to them again, and believe it or not, and I think Broadcom may get the message, they may be on life support, the VMware solution was actually the cheapest of all 3 solutions. I thought it was very interesting. So there's still a good amount of people that are out there using it. I think a little bit of us just making sure we understand the value of VMware. the current investment strategies, and whether or not the pain of moving off it is going to be worth it again. But look carefully at it. Some people are very surprised at the pricing.
Somebody else asked, what are the best pain points to be looking for with new prospects? I think some of the most recent slides that talk about why ThinkAgile, you could kind of translate that or reverse engineer that into a question asked for pain points. My personal two favorites, I think we kind of touched on it, are how is your VMware environment going? And sit back and smile and watch them squirm. Second question along the same lines is, how is your cloud bill coming along? Earl, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely think the VMware environment, the pain. Is there budgetary constraints that you're seeing that the change in the VMware environment is going to cause you down the road if you're in this space? I think that we're past the point of somebody saying, I never virtualized. I think everybody has an element of virtualization out there. And then I think the last thing is understanding what's currently in play. If you're a big shop, if you're supporting a big customer that's already implemented, a whole bunch of, micro-segmentation, and you're using VMware NSX, that's going to be a lift to pick you up and move you off of that environment again. Whereas some customers are just saying, all I needed was a 3-node cluster, and I'm just running some hypervisors, and man, oh man, I just don't want to pay that VMware tax. So I think the actual second and third questions that are on there. And then finally, let me close with this, Adrian. We've got some really cool cost models that we'd be happy to sit with you to compare core counts, capacity counts on here again, so somebody can get a really good idea of how much this is probably costing.
Yeah, our last webinar was actually on Hyper-V / Azure Local. So if you guys missed out on that particular call on what Lenovo can help with in terms of getting people off of VMware, take a look at our recorded webinar, our previous one, on our previous quarter, and we go into a little bit of a deep dive on what some of the ThinkAgile slides that Earl just spoke about, as well as the one IQ assessment application that could help you sniff out the infrastructure to figure out the core counts, the memory utilization, the disk utilization, those types of things. So please take a look at that. One more comment here. Unless VMware does some serious cleanup of the way that they do business, I will never sell it ever again. I lost a number of sales due to their complete mismanagement of their takeover / merger. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and you know what? Not only do our partners feel that way sometimes, we know the end users feel that way too sometimes as they're trapped. Really and truly, the one I saw that really caught my mind was it was a LinkedIn post. It had a carton of milk. It said, "Can you imagine coming to the store tomorrow and having a gallon of milk cost $60? That's my virtualization cost." Yeah, very interesting. Yep, 100%. So lots of options on there. And as a solution provider, if D&H and Lenovo can provide you different tools and different options so you can pivot and kind of rotate into solutions on there, I think it's the very best thing that we can do to be channel friendly, channel first partners. Okay, so I'm going to just wrap up real fast again and just say that was the storage launch that we made. There was a lot of reasons we did it. We did these to make sure that our partners have got new things out there. You've got reasons to pick up the phone and call the customers. You've got reasons to talk. You've got reasons and things that you could address some of the compelling issues that are coming up. Things like, the SDI dilemma that we have with Broadcom is one of many. I think there's a lot of things that we can spend time with on here. And I want you to know as well that as a channel first company, doing business with Lenovo, doing business with D&H means that that channel fidelity will stay in play on there. There's not this channel poaching, hey, we're going to take your customers direct. It's just not the way we play. That might be a breath of fresh air for you. And if so, I want to make sure that you take into account these solution sets that are out there. So Adrian, I was going to wrap here, okay, with a couple of resources for us, but I didn't get a chance to see all of your initial kickoff because your internet froze. Do you want to bounce back up and take the next couple of 3 or 4 minutes and go through a couple of those?
Let me just maybe quickly go through. I won't go through all of them just in the interest of time. But let me see here. Let's go with, there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about This is the slide I was going to put up for myself. My contacts in the upper right-hand corner, Lenovo Canada ISG at dnh.com. This is how you can reach out. I was talking about, things that I could help with. I was in pre-sales for many, many years of my life and my career. I started at IBM for the first half. And the second half, I was in the channel as a reseller, providing pre-sales support to my sales teams and to our customers. So anything from from solutioning the building configuration, submitting deal regis, requesting special bids, getting your cost to you in a quote. Those are all things that I can help you with. So if you haven't worked with me yet, please reach out. Upper right hand corner is my mailbox to get help and get engaged. Another slide I wanted to share really quickly was to talk about D&H. In case you guys don't know who D&H is, D&H has been around for over 100 years. It started off in 1918 as a tire retreading business, and evolved into an IT distribution company for North America. We are 100% North American, meaning every partner gets a dedicated sales rep, like a human being. And everybody you speak to at D&H works in North America. We're not outsourced anywhere else. We had revenues exceeding $6 billion, fastest growing rate across our competition, named by Forbes as one of the largest private companies since 2009. Specifically for Canada, though, D&H Canada, we've been in Canada for 17 years. We're headquarters in Mississauga. We have a distribution center in Mississauga, and then we also have another one in Surrey, BC. Both of them are brand new. It's increased our logistics footprint by 3x. We have a new integration and services center. So if you need us to install OSs for your laptops or your servers, if you want us to laser etch, asset tag, all those types of things, we can do those in our integration center in Mississauga. We have over 110 manufacturing partners and a growing line card of hardware, cloud solutions, and services, professional and managed services. Recently, we were recognized by HPI as a Canadian Distributor Partner of the Year. CDW recognized us as their Distributor of the Year in 2023. And of course, most recently, fresh, hot off the press, just a few weeks ago, Lenovo named D&H Canada Distributor of the Year for 2025. So congratulations to my team and to D&H. And then really quickly, Lenovo promos, if you guys haven't heard of any of these. Medallion match, if you are a gold or platinum partner with any of Lenovo's like HPE or Dell, they will match it. If you haven't heard of this, please reach out and we can talk about this some more. There's something called new customer bonus. Don't miss out on this. In addition to deal registration, there's something called mission acquisition / new customer bonus, which for ISG gives you an additional 10% discount off lists. This is good for people that haven't bought ISG in the last 3 years. There's some things about leap points where you can learn and gain points and get gift cards. Lots of education and EDU there. And then lastly, there's a promo on ISG Premier support, which gives you 5% in back-end rebates. So let me put my contacts back up there. Actually, Earl, I think, had a...
Yeah, very last slide. Want me to push it?
Yeah, it was pushed out in there, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
We got a couple minutes left. Let's see if we have anything else we got to talk about. Oh, there's downloadable content, right, on your screen right now under, I believe it's called resources. You can download today's slides. A recording is also available for today's webinar. Oh, by the way, we have another one coming up. We have one set up for September. We're going to talk about V4 refresh service. So there's a brand new set of servers that were recently announced by Lenovo on Intel's 6th gen Xeon processors. So look out for that when the link goes up. Please sign up for that and attend. I believe it's set up for September 23rd from 2 to 3 p.m. Okay, let's see. Quick questions. What do we have here? Do you find customers are really moving away from costly cloud and instead doing their own local site-to-site recovery? I do. Yes, I do. Earl?
Yeah, I think the same thing. We get lots of folks asking about it, estimating what the cost is going to be to get that data out or repatriated down. It's a high level conversation, and I think it's an easy conversation for a partner to have, depending on where you sit in the ecosystem and market. I could make a play either way with you if you wanted to make sure that one way came out to be the other, but a lot of folks are very interested in it, 100%.
Perfect. Many of us don't have Fortune 50 or 1,000 clients. Any future support for Proxmox?
Yeah, that's interesting. And another one that comes up, by the way, is scale as well too. And
Yep.
I would say that there is conversation and talk tracks around it. I think that the device dependency and the co-engineered solutions won't be quite as critical because they don't move as fast, and the community support is there. I don't think it's quite the same space, but I do know there's Proxmox solutions being run on our V4 servers right now. I don't know that the co-engineered appetite in the marketplace is there yet. Again, I don't think we'll see a ThinkAgile for Proxmox. I just don't think the market really feels the need and necessity.
I agree. There's partial support right now based on the underlying Linux technology that runs, but for full blown support, that's going to be further down the road. One more question. I heard recently Lenovo client systems will not be affected by tariffs as they are bonded from Mexico or dropshipped from Asia. Is this the same for Lenovo server storage? I could take that or unless you know, Earl.
Yeah, no, and actually from distribution perspective, that'd be all yours.
Yeah, so it's ISG is manufactured in Mexico. They do drive through the U.S., but they do not enter the U.S. I don't know if that makes any sense. From a custom standpoint, they have documentation. The drivers have documentation that prove that these are destined for Canada, and they will not enter the U.S. from a tariff or duty or a customs standpoint. So while they might traverse through the U.S. from a highway, trucking, driving point of view, they do not enter the U.S. So therefore, the tariffs are not going to apply. We currently do not have tariffs against Mexico. So basically, yeah, short answer is there's no tariffs on ISG.
Great.
All right, and I think that's it. We're right on the 1 hour mark. Thank you so much, Earl, for all of that. I apologize, my connection got interrupted in the beginning, but I'm sure you guys were in good hands. Again, look out for our next webinar, September 23rd. And please, if you haven't spoken to me, send me an email, reach out to me, say hi, and then we can get started on our partnership, okay?
Adrian, thanks for having me. And I appreciate the partners' time today, and I hope that we're able to do some business soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.